Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back again to the Second Chance Live show. I'm so excited to share my guest, Melinda, with you today. She's a former Olympic athlete, and please forgive her, University of Michigan graduate. But she is an expert at her craft. I read her book, which I'll be giving away a copy today on the show, Personal Next. I thought it was phenomenal, and I think every athlete needs to read it. And so I will be giving away a copy today for someone who texts us at our little number here on the screen. For those of you who don't know me, maybe you're getting this because someone shared it on your timeline, or you just caught and you're wondering, like, who's this guy with this super bright smile talking to this amazing woman. My name is Daryl Stinson. I'm a former Division I athlete, played at Central Michigan University. And after a career-ending back injury that stopped me from playing at the next level where I deserved to be, I attempted suicide multiple times. And thank God I survived that, had a massive shift in the psychiatric unit in Detroit. And now, two-time TEDx speaker, got a cool book out, Who Am I After Sports, that I think every athlete should read as well. Founder of Second Chance Athletes, and I help speakers build businesses because I'm passionate about helping people share their story. I remember sitting here looking at speakers and hearing that they were getting paid $25,000 and $30,000 a keynote, and I'm thinking to myself, like, it wasn't even that great. And not everybody that gets paid that much is some of them they deserve to be, but I was just like, man, I can do that. And so I started to get out there and share my message. It's just been phenomenal. Going from marketing consulting to motivational speaking to now mental health. Switching this industry, I've learned different niches, and I'm just passionate about it because I know that there's the art and there's the business, and sometimes speakers need both, sometimes they need one or the other. But I'm excited. So if you have a story to share, and if there's any way that we can help serve you in that area, just shoot us a direct message. Hit me up on any of the platforms, and we'll be happy to talk to you about that opportunity. So, Miss Melinda, how you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you. Honored to be on your show.
Oh, man, I'm honored to have you, and I got some questions, and I can't wait to dive into your story. I love everything about you besides the University of Michigan thing and full transparency. Now, here's something you can use against me. Don't tell anybody this. But I actually did. My dream was always to play basketball at Michigan State University. So if you went to Michigan State and you played basketball there, I would probably like it a little bit more. But University of Michigan was a huge no-no. Like, no, we just don't do them. So anyways, but I love the big house.
Yes.
Guys, I'm going to read her bio. You guys know the drill. Like, as I read her bio, I want you to think about her life, her story, her expertise, her experiences, and think of who you might know in your network who needs to join us and be a part of this live stream. Just click that share button wherever you're watching so that we can share. She's agreed to give us generously her time. And I always say that she's not asking for anything other than that you share this message with others. That's what we're all about, like spreading hope, light, love. We got too much negative news going around. Now we get to pause for a moment, listen to some good stuff, some stuff that's helpful from someone who has achieved success in multiple areas of her life. So click the share button as you read through this. So Melinda is a certified coach, Olympian, and published author. Personal Next, which we're going to talk about that. Her professional passion is helping clients navigate the arcs of success, which she talks about in the book, which is searching for and defining a next that works for them, and then supporting those pathways to achievement. I know many people who have shifted into next because of the impacts of COVID-19 need to hear about her expertise in this area. She helps her clients embrace both the process of success along with the inevitable challenges that achievement brings. She has spent the last 7 years studying the performance of elite athletes, entrepreneurs, executives, and those who have overcome significant personal challenges. In combination with her business experience, Olympic background, entrepreneurial energy, and community success, she brings goal-driven commitment and accountability to each of her clients. Y'all, join me in welcoming Miss Melinda. So let them know what's like not in the bio.
Not in the bio. I love golf.
I saw that in the book. I was like, I think it might have been at the end of your bio in the book.
Yeah.
But I was like, you just found a new competition, man. So.
Well, it's the you as an athlete, you think that you've got this skill set that should be transferable to everything else.
Yeah.
And, it's not. And you have to work at it again. And it's, it's the story of these arcs, right? Just because you were doesn't mean that you're going to be.
That's true. That's true. See, she's already going in. She's already going on. Just because you were doesn't mean that you're going to be. And that's an assumption that a lot of athletes make. And just to be honest with you, like I faced that, like my transition. I was like, nah, good. I'm gonna crush this, like whatever. Because to me, a lot of success is mindset.
Right.
And when you have the mindset to reach an elite level as an athlete, it's just kind of like pick a new lane, be diligent, apply the mindset, and then like you'll make it. But there's a skill set that comes with each industry and a knowledge that comes with each industry. So I'm curious, what was that transition like for you?
Well, it was horrible. It was really tough because, I graduated from Michigan. I had a degree in communication and thought I moved back to Toronto and thought, as being an Olympian, as silver medals in the NCAA, I had a great degree, I'd be hired right away. I wasn't. And I didn't even know what I wanted to do. All I wanted was a job. I wanted somebody to say, here's your chance. And so it was devastating. I wandered around. I don't know whether you've ever been to Toronto, but it's like Atlanta or New York City. It's full of great big tall buildings. And I wandered around looking at all these buildings saying, someone's got to hire me here. Someone has to, once I get in, I know I'll be good, but someone has to take a chance on me.
Wow. And so how did you find what you wanted to do and who took a chance on you?
Well, I would say what I wanted to do was an evolution. So it started out just getting a job. And, fortunately, I did really well in that job. And then I moved to a new area. I actually moved to personality profiling, which is really more of, I started to edge into this lane of personal development. And then I moved to setting up a goal setting program from kids for grade 1 to 8, teach them the right way to set goals. Goals aren't a writing exercise. And so, a lot of times in schools, teachers say, write down your goals. And then everybody forgets about them. We need to teach kids that it's not a writing exercise. It's actually something you need to work on every single day. So I did that for 10 years. Had three kids, and then eventually came to the place where I am today, where, I thought I need to contribute back to the sports world. It gave me so much.
Wow. And what a great heart to have, to give back. Cause it's not, a lot of people think it's just glamorous. Like, they're like, oh, you get to work with athletes all the time. And I'm like, this is not Michael Jordan. This is people who, were Michael Jordan and are struggling and trying to figure it out. And obviously you went through that phase, and, so many things, this is what happens when I'm in, talk to an expert in the industry. I was like, I can just geek out on this stuff all the time. But, talk about, what do you see as some of the challenges in helping people find that personal next? Like, where do they get stuck and how can they get unstuck?
Oh, I think, you hit the nail on the head with your book. It starts with this concept that you are an athlete, and you don't know what else you are because you've never had the time to explore that. And so, that's got to be one of the major challenges, is figuring out who are you outside of this almost constructed image other people have made of you. And that you bought into that process, and, stepping back and being willing to let go of what other people think you are and discover who you are. So, that's one of the major challenges. The other one that I see is that, I was thinking about this earlier today. When you're in sport, you have tons of ups and tons of downs. You have tons of wins and tons of losses. Like, you just, it doesn't always turn out the way you want.
Yeah.
But once you get, and you just accept that as life. But once you're out of sport, you kind of think that you don't realize it's the same pattern. you are going to have times where you win, and you're going to have times where it's going to be disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to apply that athlete mindset. But the most important thing you have to realize is that, in any given day, you can have wins and you can have losses in any given year, but you got to keep going. You got to figure out what propels you to keep going.
Mm. That's good. You touched on it when your answer there, but you also touched on it in the book. And it was one of those things where I was underlined, circled, starred, highlighted. And I'm not going to word it as eloquently as you worded it in the book, but you talked about how athletes need to basically stop looking for the affirmation or approval of others.
Right.
And actually like put themselves in what my mindset coach would call the A circle, right? Like in the forefront where, you are your affirmation. Just talk about that. And why is that such a challenge for athletes?
So, it starts with comparative analysis. And from the youngest of age as an athlete, you've been compared to so many other people.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's outside comparison, say grandma gives you, way to go, you were the fastest runner. That comes with judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is that as a child, you like that judgment. It's great. I'm great. I'm fast. I'm the best. I'm the winner. And then you start to do that comparison yourself. When you first start out in soccer or football or baseball, you're not comparing. You're just having fun out on the field. But then because everyone else is comparing, you start to compare.
Right.
And that creates a judgment of yourself. Mm-hmm. I'm the best. In the absence of being the best, when you start to not be the best or you struggle, the comparison turns to negative. Mm-hmm. I'm no good. Mm-hmm. I'm a loser. I can't keep up. Mm. And, my worry with athletes today is they quit.
Yeah.
Because all of the influences that are going on in their life, the social media influences, and, you were the superstar, now you're not, and you haven't learned that resilience, grit that needs to be learned through participation and through the successes and less than successes. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a huge thing that we need to be very aware of as parents and as athletes as we're moving on, that the comparison needs to come from within, but it also has to be it has to be a positive affirmation. I'm not as good as yet.
I love it. Love it. Love it. The yet, because it I always say, like when I preach, I'm like, don't put a period where God puts a comma. And so it's like don't stop there, because you are in the process of learning and becoming, and like it takes time, right? It really does. And so I love it. I want to read a statement that you wrote in your book, and another one of the many that I've highlighted. It says, trust in, be brave, and put your new identity forward. What you were no longer matters. What you're going to be matters more now.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so well said.
Yeah.
And I just, again, we talked about this before we started. I just know that there's going to be people watching this and they're stuck in what they lost in 2020.
Right.
I'd love for you to just share some advice, some encouragement to them on how they can define their life in 2021.
Well, first of all, you have the footings of some great potential. But like in sports, potential only happens when you actualize it. And so, and that's, I get the loss. I mean, I was part of the 1980 boycott of the Olympics. I get the loss that you have when you strive every single day to accomplish something. You can't control some of these things, but you can control what you do every day. And so what I would say to every athlete out there, pick one thing that you can control today, do it, and write down the win. Because after 365 days, you're going to have 365 wins in your, all of my clients are required to have a win journal.
Love it.
And those 365 wins, when you look back on it, you're going to start to accelerate into, gaining confidence and belief in yourself again. It's not easy. I'm not here to pretend that it's an easy journey. It isn't.
Yeah.
But we were never, I think athletes have been told a story that is really unfair for them. They've been told that, the pinnacle of your sports is the pinnacle of your life.
Yes.
It's not.
It's not. It's not.
And, hopefully we have lots of pinnacles. I know I've had lots of pinnacles in my life. And we have to work for each one of those. But, don't believe the story that, your success in sports is the best thing that will ever happen. Because if that's the story you believe, then that's the reality of your existence.
You live out the story you tell yourself, and it's so good. I'm like, yes, thank you. Say it. Because, I talk to people about that all the time, and it's like, and some people say like, well, how can athletes be depressed? They had all these experiences, and they've experienced things that the average person hasn't. And I'm like, but you don't understand that's part of the problem is that you go from that to not having it, and it feels like, and I say this all the time. This term in the athletic space, glory days, like think about what that means. Like your best days are behind you. Like there's a day that's better than today, or the future. And it's just no way to live. One of the things that I admire about you, and you mentioned it earlier in our interview today, is you said that you wanted to give back to the sports industry that helped make you or gave to you. And I think a lot of athletes, I know a lot of athletes settle for a good paying job, but not for what I would call purpose, which you're walking in, which is something that's personal to you. And I know that that's something that you had to do intentionally, and you maybe had to make some sacrifices. Talk about your heart for the athlete industry. And when you say you want to give back, what do you mean by that?
So first of all, why I even started this project is because my neighbor and fellow golfer at my club in Toronto, he died by suicide. Mm-hmm. And I, he was an Olympian with me. He was just a rock star athlete. And I thought, if someone like him, who, his wife is a beautiful person, his 4 kids are beautiful people, if someone like him suffered deeply through depression, and we're not doing anything about this, then and this is before the real story of athlete depression got going back in 2013, how can I add value to this? So I took the attitude, go and look at 100 people who had successfully made the transition from high performance to something else and learn their pathway to that. Because that's, as an athlete, that's what I did. I looked at the swimmers that were better than me when I was in high school in Florida and thought, I want that. And so I figured out how they got it through, hard work and through coaching and all those other things. And I thought, how do I get that? And so, my whole premise is that we need to look at the successful people that have transitioned and then figure out how they did it, and then go and copy that, rinse and repeat. And that's, again, one of the things I loved about your book, Daryl, was that, you walk the talk there. You experienced that, and you said, this is what I learned. It was not pretty. Mm-hmm. In fact, I almost died. Mm-hmm. So to me, I'm 58, my kids are all through school, and, I'm very blessed. My vision is to really help those athletes that need the help, that, really need to understand this transition. One of the ways that I'm launching this in, early March is this online program that an athlete can sign up for. And I'm going to do cohorts of 20 athletes, of which 3 of those are going to be scholarship athletes, people that can't afford it. Because to me, that is, we need to get these kids that have the footings and allow them to go and accelerate into their next life. And they just need they need some help in that, because they've never had that help.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk a little bit, since we're there, a little bit about your program. I know, you're still in preparation for launch, but what's your intention and your vision for the cohort? What value will it bring to the people who are a part of it?
Well, it walks them through all the major findings I had in my research, including, I say you have to go backwards to go forward. You have to understand how you got to the day that you're sitting here in an online course with me. So we go backwards, and then we discuss the messy middle, and then we accelerate into their personal next. So it's 9 extensive weeks, of which once a week I open up for coaching for office hours, where, I'll coach any particular person who's in the cohort, or we'll do it as a group depending on who wants to join. It's like going to a university prof's office hours, because I know that, the book is great and your book is great, but the impact of talking to someone like you or talking to someone like me will get them really going with the support.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I so wholeheartedly agree with you. And, hands-on. And actually, one of the things that, and I'll just put this out there, one of the things that I've been toying around with, I don't know if I told you this or not, is having a mentor for every athlete. Right. Like, I just feel like that one-on-one, because when I didn't do the research you did, but, I started out just one-on-one with people, just talking to them, learning their story, giving them advice. And I don't know, man, I felt like it's the most intimate setting. And so I feel like if everyone has a mentor, like we can really make a dent in the statistics that former athletes face, because that camaraderie is something they miss, and that coach is something that they miss. And you're obviously a great, great, great coach. Talk about some of the blocks that you see when you're coaching clients. What keeps them from really walking fully into their personal next?
The patterns that they learned. I probably have identified, I put about 17 of them in the book, about 50 blind spots.
Yeah.
That a athlete will go through, that they just don't realize.
I didn't have any of those blind spots. That's probably the blind spot, right?
Yeah. So, in lots of sports, in, football, for example, you're trying to knock people down. And so your mindset is around, conquer and knock down. If you move into corporate, you can't knock people down. But your deeply embedded mindset is, around that. So bringing an awareness. One of my, early coaching athletes, the athletes that I way back when started to coach, she kept saying to me, I don't understand why my boss is kind of hiding from me. And I went, well, tell me more. And she said, well, it's because, I go to search him out. I was, well, how, to ask him a question. And I said, well, how often do you search him out? She said 5 or 6 times a day. And, I went, you can't. Your boss has a job too. It's not his job to just solely be your coach as your coach was in your sport. Pick your times that you want to talk to your boss and schedule a meeting and put everything in at once. I mean, that's a blind spot. We don't realize that we've had these coaches that we could have 24/7 access to. And then when you get to the work world, you treat your boss like your coach. Wow. And all of a sudden you get a lapse. So this accelerates into, well, they aren't giving me the attention I deserve. I must not be very good.
Here we go. Yeah.
And, I'm not very good. They don't like me here. I'm going to be fired. And then as I call it, the itty bitty shitty committee constantly reinforces that thought. And you don't even give yourself a chance to achieve in that environment because you've told yourself that your boss doesn't like you because you're contacting them 8 times a day for little encouragement. That's a blind spot.
Wow. Yeah, I found the blind spot thing to be phenomenal, which is one of the things. There's a few areas I was like, man, see, I wish I would have read your book before I wrote mine. I would have wove some stuff in. But the blind spot things was, and I was just like, dang, this wasn't me, because, and I tell people my competitiveness, and truly, to be honest with you, that's something that I still struggle with when I work with others. Like my demands are like, I don't know, maybe unrealistic. I've been told. Like I have really high demands, and it runs some people over, and I think I get it. Like, I'm a leader, and so you got to challenge your team to grow. But I think it's overboard, like because, and I don't know what your journey was. You didn't talk a ton about it, and maybe it's different. But I'm assuming that you had to make great sacrifices to make it to an Olympic level. Right. Physically,
sure.
like, you can't hang out with everybody like they hang out. You got to get up earlier. You've got to put your body through a certain level of discipline. And so since I've done that before, I'm like, to me, the excuse thing is very hard for me to tolerate. So when people are like, oh, I'm so sorry I'm late to this project because of this or this, I'm like, should have woke up earlier. Like, there's just no grace, and it's a blind spot. So help me, Melinda, help me.
I mean, so there's 2 things that come up for me. One is that, you and I have a great, one of our core values is efficiency. Because our life we've had to fit things in to get everything accomplished that we want to accomplish. When someone steps on that value, they're late. Like it's so deeply embedded. I remember if I was a minute late, 100 push-ups for practice.
Yes.
Like you're just not late.
Yes. Thank you. Brittany, my wife, I hope you're listening to
I'm not getting involved there.
No, it's so true because she's like, it's not that serious. I'm like, yes, it is. Like we're just going to like the movies or something. Like it's really not. But I'm like, we're not late.
Yeah.
So, okay, continue.
I don't like being late, but I also recognize now I've been married 34 years. So, I also recognize that there's a dark side to every strength. And that shadow side has bit me in the butt a few times that I now, all my husband has to say to me is, that's that efficiency strength. How's that working for you right now? So really becoming, it truly is about awareness. So really becoming aware of these embedded patterns in your life, which are truly, they got you to where you wanted to go to and where you want to go in the future.
Yeah.
But when does that embedded pattern become a shadow or dark strength? And sometimes it's something that affects you. And sometimes it's a trigger for someone else. The best way I can explain this is, if I'm walking down a busy street, say in Toronto, Yonge Street, major street, and there are people blocking the sidewalk, and I'm trying to get around them to catch the train to go home. It just triggers me, but they don't care. They don't care that I'm efficient. They couldn't, they don't, who is this? Who is this person? I'd use another word, but I'm not going to.
Right. I get it. I'm with you.
Who is this person that's trying to bump their way through and huff and puff and, say, excuse me, and, all of those other things. And that's where we have to be very conscious when we're working with other people that the strengths that I bring to the table are, they may, people don't even care about them. So what is it that they care about, and what strengths, whether they're not my core strengths, but they're things that I can learn or things that I can do. What do I have in me that can match that person's strength so we can collaborate?
Wow. You know, I want to talk about the marriage thing because I probably can learn a thing or two. But I want to talk about this competitiveness, and this is a conversation that comes up often in the
Right.
athlete transition space. Is competition, is it a good thing or a bad thing? And I've been told from coaches of mine. Really, I'm thinking of one particular coach. He's phenomenal, by the way. You'll hear from him as well. But he he said that I cannot stop competing, and he observed my behavior in a meeting, and there was a particular discussion we were having, and he's like, you just have to win. You just have to win. And I was like, no, I don't. It's like, so you're trying to win. And I was like, so I mean, what's your take on it? Competition is a good thing or a bad thing? And then why?
Okay, so go back to comparative analysis.
hmm
Are you trying to win to beat someone else, or are you trying to win to be better yourself?
I think
Highest truth here.
yeah. So I'm thinking like, yeah. So for me, the way I would answer that is I would say the reason why I want to win is because I don't like losing. So it's not about me or like outdoing them. It's like it's a standard, right? So like if me and you were like, hey, I know what we're gonna do together. I don't know, we're gonna get to 10 athletes this week. Like it's not even a lot, but let's just say we're gonna coach 10 athletes this week. And collectively, like I do 5, you do 5, right?
Yeah.
So if we were talking about this strategy and I was saying, well, this doesn't work because like if we were short of our goal and we were talking about why, and I felt like I knew the answer that would get us to the goal, it's more about the goal than it is about outdoing you or me being better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And
Okay.
I think that sometimes we can get a little stuck on outcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and in the rush to achieve outcome, we miss opportunity. So what I would challenge you in that moment of, if you didn't achieve those 5 athlete clients,
hmm
what I would say to you is really, okay, let's go to process. Let's understand what really was going on
hmm
and see where we can close the gap.
hmm
Because if you define everything by the outcome, when you actually get to the outcome, it's kind of like a bummer. I can't tell you the number of athletes that I've talked to that say, I achieved my dream. I made it to an Olympics. I did this. And then they kind of go like, what's next? So we have to carry that down to, our mini goals. I'm not saying goals aren't important. I have big goals.
Yeah.
But it's about what I do every day to achieve those goals. And when I don't achieve them every day, it really becomes, well, what didn't I do? Or what do I have to try differently? Because when you're so focused on outcome, you lose creativity.
Convicted.
That's okay. I mean,
so let's get off of Daryl's back and let's talk about other people's problems. So,
hey,
okay, real. I'm gonna get into my heart.
Is your wife competitive?
Nah, and that's good for me.
Right.
Like she teaches me how to chill. Like it's so funny. Just yesterday, like this isn't even like 2 weeks ago or 2 years ago. Just yesterday, we both had long days. She works. We both had long days, and we get there, and in my mind, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, it's a long day. I'm feeling tired, so I'm gonna clean more. I'm gonna excel. I'm not gonna let my body tell me you're tired or whatever. She's like ready to like call it quits for the day. And so we didn't get in an argument or anything, but it was like this moment of tension of like, all right, hey, are you going to sit down, watch TV, and just relax for the rest of the day? But we had enough work for the day. And I'm like, no, there's more in the tank. Like it's bad. I know I'm bad. And I'm not like that every day, by the way. But she's not competitive at all. She doesn't care.
Well, I think she cares, just in a different way.
She's just like, because I was, and it's funny because I was explaining to her, and I don't know, do you know Brandy Winans?
No.
Okay, so Brandy Winans has pro athletes transition, and she lost her husband Jeff Winans to suicide because of athlete transition, and and that early what do you call it with the helmet injury? I'm drawing a blank. It's very common, CTE.
Oh, yeah.
And so they say that was part of the source, and so anyways, one of the things she's very passionate about is helping the family unit understand like what it's like for an elite athlete. So the world that they
Mhm.
grew up in. And so that's actually how her and I connected. She was helping us on where I was and how competitive I was and competing with my wife and all that stuff. But it's good. Like my wife really does not care about the outcome. She just wants to enjoy life, and I need a little bit more of that. But let me get to my question because I'm on a tangent, and we can talk about this all day. The statistics of former athletes, stories like your friend that you lost, and friends that I've lost, and friends that many other athletes have lost, and even if they haven't lost them, they're struggling. And
Yeah.
when you look at the statistics, my personal opinion is that the statistics that are out there don't reflect the depth of the problem. I think it's much, much worse than what the
Yep.
statistics say because we don't even survey high school athletes. And I think they have huge issues when it relates to athletic identity. So my question to you is, do you believe we can make a difference and how?
Absolutely. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think we, as a community of
Mhm.
voices out there that believe this message needs to get out there. Um, if I didn't think that, my focus would be somewhere else. I
Mhm.
think that, and I'm with you on that. I also believe there's a lot of athletes that are afraid to admit they're struggling.
Mhm.
So there's athletes that say, whether it's an NCAA survey or an Olympic survey or a professional survey, there's a lot that say they're struggling. There's even more that don't,
Yes.
because knock me down, I get back up.
Mhm.
Um, but remember, in sport, when you get back up, you have a team behind you to help you.
Mhm.
And after you're done sport, you don't know who your team is anymore. You don't know who your support person is. So that secure base is the person who, you can say, I'm really struggling,
Mhm.
because your image says, I'll get back up.
Mhm.
And so, sharing the stories and sharing the message that, first of all, this is a normal process when
Mhm.
you leave sport.
Mhm.
You're going to go through a messy middle.
Mhm.
Some of them are going to be very shallow, messy middles, and others are going to be deep.
Mhm.
But the absence of all those great things that you had in sports, the you have to refine them somewhere else.
Mhm.
And recognizing, like, I talk about, and people, when they read the book, will understand, like building proficiencies. If you were the best football player or the best swimmer, you constantly built on that skill every single day.
Mhm.
And now you don't even know what your skills are.
Yeah.
Um, you're going to feel depressed. You're going to feel lonely. You're going to feel like you're not, that your classmates that went to, did computer science or that didn't play sports are so much further ahead. They're
Mm.
not. You've got a whole bunch of things, but
Mhm.
you have to figure out what you're missing from sport. And then you have to figure out how to build that
Mhm.
in the next part of your life.
Yeah.
And so that message from you and I and, everyone else out there who's working on this,
Mhm.
it's normal to go through a post-sport transition.
Mm. Love it. Love it. You know, oh, there's so many things I could talk about. Let's talk about camaraderie. You talked about the team that supports us during sports and the need. And when we surveyed our athletes, and it's probably about 2 years old now, but still, I'm sure the results will be the same. When we asked, what's your number one need? Camaraderie, 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 camaraderie. They miss the camaraderie. And what's your thoughts on how we can give athletes that camaraderie?
Do you want my real thoughts?
Yes, I do.
Stop pretending on social media.
Love it. What do you mean by that?
Well, if you're an athlete and you have all of these friends, many of them fake friends, that constantly reinforce that image, that's the image that you will gravitate to. So social media is not helping you to transition unless you're using social media to accelerate forward. If you're constantly reinforcing the image and the who you were, as I say, I use this in my book. If you constantly think about who you were and not who you want to become, then that's the place you'll stay with who you were. And of course, every time, say somebody from the press wants to interview and say, boy, Melinda, I'll use myself, boy, Melinda, it was, you must feel really great about being an Olympian. And I'm 5 years out from being an Olympian and I feel like a failure. What's going to go through my head? Like, crap, I haven't done anything for 5 years.
Right.
So we need to recognize and hold tight to the memories, but let go of the identity, as you say.
Yeah.
Tight to the memories, the friendship. So, your new team, are you holding on to your old team for a reinforcement of an identity? And most of those people on your old team are probably struggling too. So they're not the people that are going to accelerate. Go find a team that's going to accelerate. It doesn't mean that you dump your old friends. Just be careful. Be aware.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
No, I get it completely. And I honestly, I haven't thought about it from that perspective. I definitely have thought about the identity and the reinforcement piece. I haven't as much been aware of or paid attention to how social media reinforces that old identity. I think that's a good point. And now that you said it, anytime you become aware of something, you develop a consciousness for it. So now I'm like, hey, I know like 20 people right now that are doing that. And I see that. And I think that's so important. It's so hard, right? Because nobody wants to say, hey, I'm not up there anymore. I'm down here. Nobody wants to say that. And,
why not though? I mean, why not? Why don't people want to say that?
Ego. This ego. And let me say this, ego. And then what I say, and even as it relates to the mental health conversation, and I say this probably every podcast I'm on, is we have to normalize the conversation, right. And the example, I think everybody goes, yeah, I get it. But like the example I give, and I said, look, if you're in an auditorium full of 10,000 people, nobody wants to be the one person that stands up when everybody's sitting. But if everybody begins to stand up, it feels less awkward to stand up.
Right.
Because now you don't stand out. Now you're not like an anomaly. And so the more people like yourself who come out and talk about that transition, share a story about your friend, talk about what you learned from your research, share personal story. The more stories that we tell, the more normal that the conversation gets. And I think that changes the culture. And so I so am grateful for you being one of those voices that are speaking up.
Yeah. And I mean, I get that in the auditorium, but it was like, I'm going to challenge the athlete that stood up in the stadium, that stood out. They were willing to stand out in the stadium.
Yeah.
Challenge yourself to stand out today, even if that means the standout says, I'm struggling.
Yeah.
Because the moment that you honor the state that you're in is the moment you can start to move forward and get support. Like, reach out, ask, find the person who's going to listen to you. I learned something very valuable. My children, they're not children anymore. They're 20, 26, 28, and 31. But there was a time when, high performance parents, big expectations on our kids. I mean, and so when the kids came with a problem to share with us, they would, we'd want to solve it for them because we wanted them to be good. We wanted them to achieve. There was a time where we had to get some counseling around this.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the best lines I ever learned, and I use this with all of my clients, is this something you want to talk about and solve the problem, or do you just want to share and vent right now?
Mm.
By asking that powerful question, we are allowing our clients and our athletes to just share what they're going through without solving it.
Yeah.
Solving it's going to take time.
Yeah.
But they need this space to talk.
Yes.
And to share and to say, wow, I can't believe that I'm in this state.
Mm.
And then we can start working going forward.
Wow. I'm excited. I'm like a kid in a candy shop right now. In the first year, so I started Second Chance Athletes 2017. That first year, other than my friend Ryan, it was so lonely. Like I felt like I was just like, I could not find the right connections. People were like, it's not a problem. I was trying to raise money. They were like, athletes have money. I was like, no, they don't. And it was just like all of these problems. And every time I connect with someone like yourself who gets it, it was so refreshing. And so this has been a really refreshing discussion. If someone's, watching this right now, even if they're watching the replay and they're like, man, I like her and I'd love to connect and follow her and learn about her programs that she has and learn about what's coming up, where can they connect with you?
Well, send me an email or flip me a text. My contact information is on melindaharrison.com. Email is very easy, melinda@melindaharrison.com. You can follow me on Instagram @melindaharrison or LinkedIn, Harrison Melinda. So if you just Google me, you'll find me. The other thing is that each week, this is something that a lot of athletes are unaware of. Each week I put out a coaching tip for athletes. Sign up for that coaching tip.
Yeah.
It's short, it's 400 to 600 words, but it can shift your day and shift your week. The people that get them are constantly telling me, wow, that just changed a whole way of looking at something. Mm-hmm. So, that's just another way I try and get back to our athletes is to do that.
Gotcha. Phenomenal. I can't thank you enough for coming out here. And guys, I almost forgot. If you want to win a copy of Melinda's book, go ahead and send me a text to the number that you see there on the screen, 770-407-5177. I am going to check it, and the first person who comes through and just say book, just send me the word book, and I'll make sure you get a copy of that. I bought 2 copies just to give one away because I just love the material. So that's it. So I'm not gonna do it live or anything, but I'll check it when I get home in about an hour, and whoever came in first, I will get your address, send you the book, and if you come in second or third or fourth, just go buy it yourself. That's the key, right, guys? This has been a very intriguing conversation. Melinda, thank you again for coming on. Look, stay tuned, man. We've got some amazing guests this week, and I can't wait for you to share them with you. I'm drawing a blank right now. I'm trying to think, who's my Thursday guest? This is why I need my assistant, right? I'm in between assistants. By the way, if you want to be my assistant, I'm hiring right now. So anyways, I know who it is. Brian Pruitt is our next guest. Wow. And Megan Murphy. Wow. 2 amazing people. And Kelly Lynn Adams. So we got 3 more this week. Make sure you stay tuned. All you got to do is go over secondchanceathletes.com, sign up for our list. We'll notify you when it goes out. And follow us on social. We do social promotion. But make sure you take something that you heard today and apply it. Because information without application does not equal transformation. So take something and apply it to your life, because that's why we do this. We do this to change lives, to be a blessing, to benefit others. And that is in your hands now. We've given you information and value. You take something and just apply it to your life and share with us. We want to hear from you. How did it go? Like what did you take away from this story? Even if it was just hey, I just felt encouraged. I felt hope. I felt like I wasn't alone. Like, let us know, because we love that feedback. So that's it. I'm done chattering right now. We're going to jump off here. Remember that no matter how many mistakes you made, no matter what you've done, no matter how low you feel, that life always has a way of awarding us second chances, and second chances exist so we can finish